Almost everyone's giving up on the NBA All-Star Game, and there's a good reason why. Just 2 years ago, this is what Coach Mike Malone had to say about the 2023 game. This is the worst basketball game ever played. Wow, that was as direct as it gets. And the worst of all is, he was right. The 2023 All-Star Game had the lowest TV numbers in the NBA's history. Nobody wanted to watch. The All-Star Weekend has been going on for 72 years, and when viewership drops that much, you must change something, right? Well, the NBA tried doing that. Last year, they got rid of playground picking style and went back to good old East against West format. Also, there were no too long player introductions and a 30-minute halftime show. The result? Another failure. The East ended up scoring 211 points, and listen to how excited Adam Silver had been about it.
As well. And to the Eastern Conference All-Stars, you scored the most points. Well, congratulations.
It was almost like he wanted to say, congratulations boys, you did the opposite of what the NBA needed. But are the players the only ones to blame for all of this? Can we go back and determine when did the All-Star Game really start to decline? And most importantly, what can be done to fix it? Hello basketball fans and welcome to Hoop Vision. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It takes only a second, costs nothing, and will give you access to more basketball stories. This is how the new All-Star format will look in 2025. Instead of one game, we'll have a mini tournament instead. 4 teams will be involved, playing 2 semifinals matchups. The winners will compete in the finals, and this is where things get crazy. Games will be nothing like we've used to see during the regular season. Instead, Elam Ending is set at 40 points, so a team that reaches or surpasses the limit first is declared a winner. This format tackles 2 problems at once and might prove to be a useful tool for the future. First, reaching 40 points will probably take something like a quarter and a half or even less. So instead of watching a 2-hour boring shootout, the games will take less time and be more exciting. Second, since players won't have 3 quarters to waste and then try to get back, there probably won't be stupid half-court shots anymore that just repel anyone older than 10. But will this really be enough to save the All-Star Game? The problem is much deeper than that, and to fully get a grasp of it, we must go back down the timeline. The first All-Star Game happened in 1951. The idea behind it was simple. The league wanted to increase the popularity of the sport, so why not have your best players face off more than just during the regular season? You know what that looked like? Nothing compared to today's NBA. Sure, they weren't as skilled, but defense was played like it was Game 7 of the finals. If you liked basketball in 1951, you were excited to tell your friends you got tickets for the All-Star Game. Now, it's like whatever. The All-Star Weekend grew in popularity, and every year, more and more people tuned in to watch. But the 1972 show really made it special. The legendary Jerry West hit a game-winning shot over Walt Frazier. The people went crazy. When you heard the term All-Star Game, the first association was the best playing against the best. Since then, it became the most watched game year after year. So how did we get to this point? We've went to the all-time low from having classics like the 03 game when Michael Jordan was having his last All-Star Weekend and hit an amazing shot over Shawn Marion to give the East the lead. Everyone thought the West was done, where Jermaine O'Neal fouled Kobe shooting a 3-pointer and Michael went on to trash him while Kobe was at the line. What? Some players don't even do it in the playoffs, which tells you enough how important the All-Star Game was back then. It was a way of proving your conference was better, and it was a matter of pride and prestige. That's gone in today's NBA. Could you imagine someone doing the same thing like D-Wade in 2012? Kobe rolled around him and got served a South Beach special. Wade ended up breaking his nose and getting a flagrant 1 foul call, the first and only in All-Star Games history. Sure, he didn't intend to hurt Kobe, but the point is defense was still there. Players didn't just stand around smiling while others scored the ball. There were chase down blocks, good defense, steals, and the actual basketball superstars competing against each other. Years after that, the decline started to become too obvious. Just for comparison, that MJ versus Kobe game in 2003 ended up 155 to 145 for the Western Conference. But the big twist? That was after a double overtime. It took 58 minutes for them to score the total of 300 points. Just 10 years later, they did 318 points in a regular time. And in 2019 and 2017, the records were broken. First, in 2016, teams went for 369. The next year, 374. Something had to be done, but the league didn't have many options, so they came up with a new team picking system. Instead of East against West, we got the playground draft format. 2 players with the most votes were captains, and they got to pick their teammates regardless of the conference. Of course, the first ones were Steph and LeBron, and that 2018 game was somewhat alright, but year after year, the NBA is trying to apply changes to make it more appealing. In 2020, they introduced the Elam Ending, so there was no fourth quarter in the real sense. defense. Davis happened to hit the game-winning free throw, and that's all you should remember about that All-Star game. Nothing revolutionary new, nothing special. Since then, we haven't had an All-Star game worth of mentioning. Some people blame Steph for ruining not just the All-Star game, but basketball in general. Somewhere around 2015 and 16, his popularity skyrocketed, and that's also when the league experienced a massive shift in how the game was played. That's also the year All-Star scores significantly went up compared to the past, and the reason was obvious. Players shot more three-pointers than ever. At the same time, the number of fouls dropped every year to now almost being zero. But it's not like this is Steph's fault entirely. Something else is the sole reason for why the All-Star game has lost its competitiveness, and it just happened to occur at the same time as Curry taking over the NBA. If you follow basketball, you know how much players are afraid of injuries. For example, here's what AD had to say about it. You try to go out there and compete a little bit and not just be a highlight show, but at the same time, do you guys really want to see somebody going down for a dunk and somebody going to contest it and, God forbid, something happens in the All-Star game when it could have been avoided? The man has a point, but at the same time, the risk was always there and All-Star games were good in the past. Was there a big injury that scared everyone off from playing defense? No. Instead, this is what happened. In 1990, your average NBA player earned around $1.9 million, compared to today's $9.7 million. Around 5 times more, but nothing too extreme. The Stars, however, are a different story. In 1990, no one had more than $10 million a year. The Pistons were champions, and Isaiah Thomas made $2.1 million before taxes. Compare that to today's contracts, where in 27-28 season, Giannis will make $79, Davis $70, and Jokic $62 million. We consider Isaiah Thomas one of the all-time greats, but during his championship years, he made 10 times less money than some role players today. What's the reason for that? The way the NBA makes their revenue. You see, all the merchandise and brand sponsorships don't come close to TV rights money. Just hear these numbers and everything will make sense. In 1998, the TV rights deal with the ABC and ESPN was worth $2.64 billion for 4 years. Then, there was an even bigger one in 2002. 6 years, $4.6 billion. The trend continued in 2007 as well, when the NBA signed a 7-year, $7.4 billion deal. In 2014, you've guessed it, more money. $24 billion over 9 years. And we ask ourselves how role players get 10 to 15 million nowadays? The pie got bigger, and so did the pieces. But the latest TV deal is the sole reason why All-Stars don't compete during the weekend, and it looks like a monster compared to all the previous ones combined. If they get hurt during the All-Star weekend, they have so much to lose that they'd rather chill out and shoot some threes from the logo. But how is it that the NBA got such a huge deal? The answer lies online. TV networks are losing the race against the internet, and professional sports are pretty much the last thing people like to watch on live TV. So what do? You keep the sports alive by any means necessary. So much money pumped in have resulted in All-Star games being awful everywhere, including MLS and NFL too. How do you fix that? When it comes to basketball, we could delete the three-point line during the weekend, pay players more for winning the game, or apply postseason benefits. Another idea that seems interesting is USA against the rest of the world, since the last 5 MVPs were born overseas, and that would be a great way to reestablish their basketball dominance. But here's why all of this wouldn't work. The next TV contract for the NBA is worth $75 billion over 9 years. That's an insane amount of money that's going to increase salaries even more, and nobody is going to risk signing such a deal over winning the All-Star game. So we're probably never going back to those old glory days. Instead, we'll have overpaid athletes doing bare minimum to preserve themselves until they sign a max contract. There will be no real rivalries anymore, since players have realized basketball is a business at the end of the day. Money has taken over, and there's a chance this might be the last All-Star game we'll ever get to see in the NBA. That's it for today, dear friends. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments if you think the NBA will get rid of the All-Star weekend. If you have any suggestions for our next videos, don't hesitate to share them down below as well. Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one.